I found myself in grand, lofty pulpits, and on stage and in crowded bookstores, talking about the soul. One time, a Catholic priest on Cape Cod invited me to speak. The church was filled with people, and he insisted I speak from the pulpit. As I stood there looking at the people, the church, the pastor, and my position in the pulpit, I asked myself, how did I get here? Here I'm doing what I had hoped to do when I was 13. It has all come full circle. But none of it is literally as I expected it to be. This priesthood and spirituality I had sought so ardently takes form now that I have become a family man, a husband, and a writer. Over many decades, my raw thoughts and emotions about priesthood changed tone and color through an alchemy almost entirely unconscious to me, and they gathered a weight and form that I could never have predicted. In my life now, both the priesthood and the monastic life are made of subtle stuff, not literal ways of life, but possibilities powdered so finely that they have become values, nuances, styles, and elements of character, giving my life a certain tone and color. This book of meditations attempts to capture that alchemy for the reader. I believe we all, men and women, have much to gain by reflecting on religious community life as a spirit that can be fostered within our ordinary secular lives. It is a spirit that can deepen our values and experiences, nourish our souls, and reveal sacredness where one previously suspected only secularity. The meditation form is suited to this process because it is a collection of seeds, not a fully articulated conclusion, that germinate like perennial flowers in the midst of a worldly life. These meditations come from my youthful experience of religious community and the subsequent interiorization of that experience. While our society may not seem terribly interested these days in monastic life, it is clearly hungry for a kind of spirituality that is neither divorced from ordinary life nor escapist in tone. We may not need new leaders and new philosophies as much as the recollection of old images from the past. Monasticism may appear to be dying, but that fading of a way of life offers us an unusual opportunity to regard it with increased imagination, drawing its lessons and attractions into our own lives, no matter what external shape our work and home life may take. The ghosts of the monks still speak. We have only to listen to them with subtle attentiveness. From the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius. The doings of the gods are filled with providence. Chance events are not unrelated to nature or the weaving and winding of the allotments of providence. Everything flows from providence, and alongside it is necessity, and whatever contributes to the entire universe, of which you are a part. Early Christian monks went out to live in the desert in order to find emptiness. Modern life is becoming so full that we need our own ways of going to the desert to be relieved of our plenty. Our heads are crammed with information, our lives busy with activities, our cities stuffed with automobiles, our imaginations bloated on pictures and images, our relationships heavy with advice, our jobs burdened with endless new skills, our homes cluttered with gadgets and conveniences. We honor productivity to such an extent that the unproductive person or day seems a failure. Monks are experts at doing nothing and tending the culture of that emptiness. Withdrawal from the world is something we can, and perhaps should, do every day. It completes the movement of which entering fully into life is only one part. Just as a loaf of bread needs air in order to rise, everything we do needs an empty place in its interior. I especially enjoy such ordinary retreats from the active life as shaving, showering, reading, doing nothing, walking, listening to the radio, driving a car. All of these activities can turn one's attention inward toward contemplation. Mundane withdrawal from the busyness of an active life can create a spirituality without walls, a spiritual practice that is not explicitly connected to a church or a tradition. I have never forgotten Joseph Campbell's response when he was asked about his yoga practice. Laps in a pool and a drink once a day. Anything is material for retreat. Cleaning out a closet, giving away some books, taking a walk around the block, clearing your desk, turning off the television set, saying no to an invitation to do anything. At the sight of nothing, the soul rejoices. When I lived in a monastery, retreat from the world wasn't sufficient. One day a month and 1 week each year, we went on retreat. We didn't leave the monastery, but we went away from it. Going away, literally, figuratively, is the essence of retreat. I remember a considerable amount of walking during retreat. There is still beauty in the image my memory conjures up of brothers taking solitary walks slowly through the lush gardens or lazily down the dusty roads. This was walking for the soul. No calculating of heartbeats, no effort to get anywhere, no concern for speed, no worry about going around in circles. Simply getting away from linear life, going away in mood or reflection, walking away from the action, or shutting down business as usual. This is all the start of retreat and the core of the monastic spirit. Only a walk away. In their poverty, monks do not glorify pennilessness and want, but tone down their acquisitiveness and desire for possessions. We could incorporate the monastic experience of common ownership into capitalism. I own the bridge and the waterway, the woods and city hall, the park and the main artery out of town. On the other hand, I don't truly own the land I live on, or the car I drive, or even the shirt I'm wearing. Woody Allen tells the story of his uncle, who on his deathbed sold his nephew a watch. People who can give gracefully appreciate the mystery that monks have been preaching for centuries. Great riches are to be had by those who surrender their possessiveness. Wealth needs poverty of a kind in order to be complete and fulfilling. There was once a man in our community who was always prompt, studious, generally serious, and obviously destined for a role among the hierarchy. He was a perfect target for monastic humor. One night he arrived at his room to find life-size statues of a male and female saint lying next to each other in his bed. On another occasion, just to add a spice of humility to his habit of promptness, some of his more thoughtful confreres unscrewed the handles on his door, so that when the bell for Vespers rang, no matter how much he tried, he couldn't get the door open. What is the humor within the joke here? Don't saints sleep together? Don't we know from Pygmalion that statues have their own private lives? Aren't we always being locked in when we have important things to do elsewhere? A pilgrim was walking along a road one day when he passed what seemed to be a monk sitting in a field. Nearby, men were working on a stone building. "You look like a monk," the pilgrim said. "I am that," said the monk. "Who is that working on the abbey?" "My monk," said the man. "I'm the abbot." "It's good to see a monastery going up," said the pilgrim. "They're tearing it down," said the abbot. "Whatever for?" asked the pilgrim. "So we can see the sun rise at dawn," said the abbot. I'm sure the day my doctor decided to visit the monastery, he hadn't the slightest thought that the prior would throw him into the swimming pool. He stood with his nobility firmly in place at the beginning of the party. But when his wife was nudged into the water by a clumsy brother passing by, he may have begun to change his mind about what a monastery was. Superficial solemnity, thankfully, was never part of my experience of the life. I have always favored the kind of spiritual involvement that begets rather than kills earthy humor and even ribaldry. The perspective of divinity can be defined as all that is contrary to human intention and dignified expectation. We know we are moving more deeply into the